Hey y'all, it's my review for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, episode 16. I'm actually back from Atlanta and I'm in New York now and I can finish my filming schedule for the week, so that is why this review is late. I feel like this is going to be like a theme for every video. Like I start out with my excuse for why it's late and then I go into the review. But anyway, let's get into the episode. So we start the episode out with Candy and her son Ace, and she's taking him to make an acting reel. Wow, Candy. Like, she is starting her son out early. She's making sure her son is able to make a check too. If it's one thing Candy gonna do, she gonna make sure she, as well as anyone she's related to, get a bag. So next scene we're with Marlo. She's on the phone with her sister via FaceTime. We found out that she's getting those plotline kids back, her nephews, and she says she's excited. It's been 30 days and she's just asking her sister like how the boys have been doing. According to her sister, the boys have been acting just as the same as when Marlo dropped them off. My thing with Marlo is, okay, you sent them away for 30 days. Now, you have them back. What happens if they act up again? You gonna send them away for another 30 days? Y'all, if y'all don't pick up that trash, I'm sending it by your auntie for 30 days. I don't know, it just sets a weird precedence, that's all. Marlo then jokes with her sister saying, oh yeah, I'll pick them up in 5 days. Her sister's like, tomorrow. They actually want to come tonight, and then she hangs up on her. Look, I want to think Marlo was playing, but I think she was serious. Next scene, we're with my favorite couple, Drew and Ralph. And I'm hoping you caught that sarcasm. So we see Drew is still recovering from her foot injury that she had in Jamaica. She actually had full-blown surgery, had to go into anesthesia for this Achilles she tore. While she's talking to Ralph, we see she's being visited by Charade. So it looks like she just recently had her surgery, and Charade is the first friend she sees. They both acknowledge that they were former enemies, and if you've been looking at Twitter, they're still enemies, but right now they've called a truce. And Charade says she genuinely feels bad for Drew that she hurt herself in Jamaica. We also see another former adversary of Drew walk in, Sonya. Well, at least Drew notices the dynamic I just pointed out. Like, two people that she recently got into it with are the first ones to check up on her. Like, her alliance is supposed to be with Kenya and Candy. Oh! So Drew wasn't at the final dinner, so Sheree and Sonya is telling her about it, and Sonya started out with her back and forth with Kenya, and right out the gate, Sonya admits that Kenya ate her up, and you know what? At least she admitted it. That is a rookie mistake to admit that, but hey, I mean, Kenya did have her tongue tied. Like, son, you gotta be ready for these girls. You can't be tongue-tied with Kenya. I really hope she did better at the reunion. Oh no, so the bone collector strikes again. So as Sonya's talking about Kenya, Charade decides to inform her of what Kenya told her about Ross, Sonya's husband, being aggressive at the table. I mean, I knew from the last episode, like, Charade did not want to say the word aggressive, and I knew she was gonna run tell that to Sonya. Is it Sanya or Sonya? I'm gonna just keep calling her Sonya. Ooh, Sonya ain't taking that information well at all. Her first reaction is saying Kenya wishes she had a man to stand up for her like that. Oh. Now, Sonya, I want you to keep that same energy when Kenya right in front of you. She claims that her husband was just sticking up for her, and I agree with her. I think her husband was just sticking up for her the best way he could. Like, he didn't lunge at Kenya or anything. He just stood up, and he shouldn't have cursed. I believe that, but to call him aggressive, you know, like, you gotta choose your words carefully. So Sonya is so upset that she decides to call Kenya at this very moment on speakerphone. Now, this is another mistake. Now, I can't get with you, Sonya, if you're trying to check Kenya on speakerphone. And then Kenya answers the phone. It sounded like she was asleep. Like, the first thing she asked, is everything okay? Can you imagine just waking up and answering the phone and somebody ready to argue with you? I'd be like, I don't have time for this. So Sonya tells Kenya what she heard her say, and Kenya still sound groggy as hell. She's like, and Sonya's like, what, cat got your tongue? It sounds like Kenya literally just woke up to answer the phone, so I'll give her that grace. Like, you don't even know what's going on right now. If I was Sonya, I probably would have texted her before I called. Sonya is really heated. She's trying to go at Kenya, but Kenya's like, okay. And then Sonya hangs up the phone like, bye, bitch. Now, she hung up that phone before she said bye, bitch. It would have been better if she would have just said that on the phone. But Sonya is hot, and she says this is strike 3 for Kenya. Sheree, now look what you did. And side note, it must have been late around the time they went to go see Drew, because Drew herself is falling asleep in this scene. Next scene, we're with Charade at her casting call for her upcoming fashion show. Y'all, I've heard so much about this scene on Twitter, I cannot wait to watch. In this scene, we're also introduced to RHOA, Charade's event planner for her fashion show. So she's in charge of booking the venue, hiring the models, etc. Charade then tells RHOA that she invited her friend Kenya to help cast the models for her show. She even gives her a disclaimer that she can be a shady bitch, so be prepared. And that RHOA was, according to y'all. It looks like they intentionally wanted to recreate this scene when we first were introduced to Kenya at Cynthia's casting call. So Kenya arrives and she is starting already. As soon as she meets RHOA, she's like, now why didn't you call me? Because the miles I would have provided would have been down the street. What happened? So they're getting into about the casting call already. According to RHOA, she just wanted to do a casting on the down low. Not sure if that makes sense or not, because it seems like at this moment Sheree is crunched for time. And then we see through production Sheree's Instagram where she posted a model call that happened this past February at Bravo TV doc series Guest Judge Charade Whitfield. Okay, so she sent it on her Instagram. What was down low about that? Kenya's rebuttal is, we don't want a casting call on the down low because how are we going to get people here? Now, even though I agree with Kenya, she's kind of overstepping boundaries because she's not the one that Charade hired. Charade doesn't seem confident at all. Kenya's been there for 5 minutes and has already taken over her casting call. Like, why is she listening to Kenya? What casting call has she done besides the one for a man to be on Bravo? RHOA is fed up with Kenya overstepping her boundaries and tells her, well, this is how I run a casting call. Kenya immediately responds, oh, okay, so the wrong way. All right. The disrespect. I'm sorry, I am completely on RHOA's side. Like, even though if you agree with Kenya, like, RHOA doesn't deserve that. Let Charade, the one who's paying her, talk to her like that. You're not gonna address me like that. Like, y'all, I get that y'all like Kenya shade, y'all think it's cute, but imagine you in your role, like you're being paid for this, and somebody like not certified or doesn't have the qualifications telling you how to do your job. How would you feel? Kenya's trying to tell them where they should be sitting for where the models walk in. After the shade storm Kenya just threw, they just agree to sit where she suggests. Sheree is taken aback by Kenya's behavior, or maybe she's just acting and knew Kenya would wild out like this. So as RHOA is switching up the seat position, Kenya tells Sheree, we need to have real models. And RHOA comes right back, she's like, you need a budget for real models. Oop! Not hitting Charade too with the shade. Wow, somebody came prepared for this scene. According to RHOA, if they want real models, then they have to pay the day rate of $250 to $500. And you know Charade, who's cheap and used to cutting corners, ain't trying to hear that. That's why she got a casting call for amateur models so she can pay them what she wants to and not the rate they're supposed to by their agency. Oh my God. This scene is everything. Kenya is now scolding Charade because she says she don't have time to get models from an actual agency. Like, what? And then she said she already spent $1 million on this. $1 million. $1 million. We cut to Kenya's confession. She's saying if Charade spent $1 million on this fashion show, it was from a collection agency. Oh my God. Like, she is a friend to no one on this show. The way she just shaded Charade like that. Charade looking like a joke right now. Like, seriously, girl, you still don't know what you're doing 10 years later? So the casting call finally begins, and we see a trim with all the models that they're all pretty short. And normally industry standard for female models is 5'7" and up. And all these girls are under 5'7". I mean, if you have them wearing like 4 or 5 inch heels, that helps a lot. But do women wear heels with joggers? I think so. Like, heels be going with joggers, right, ladies? Oh no, so Kenya and RHOA are going at it again. So one of the models that actually are really good, like Kenya wants their information, and RHOA says her assistant has all the information of the contacts. And Kenya's like, no, put your information behind your photo. They're going back and forth. The model don't know what to do. So yeah, Kenya just hands her the photo and the model takes to put her information on there. RHOA then says, okay, just do that to make her feel better. And Kenya's like, I do feel better. RHOA's like, oh, I'm happy for you. Kenya's like, I'm happy for me. RHOA's like, confetti. She was quick with Kenya. Oh my God. That exchange. Kenya ain't shit for that. But Rowan wasn't no punk. She kept up with Kenya in that scene. Now, how did she keep up with Kenya better than Sonya did? Like, I saw that all over Twitter. They were just like, give Rowan a peach. That was a really good shady sparring between the two. Even Kenya admitted it on her Twitter. Here go Kenya with the male models being unprofessional. So the casting call is over. It looked like Sheree found a few models, but she said she still needs some more. Kenya said she would be delighted to help her. And then Kenya takes one last jab at Rowan, saying this should be more professional. Rowan assures her that this isn't her first rodeo. Kenya's like, well, it sure looks like it. She needs her ass whooped. Like, I'm glad Rowan had a lot of grace and a little shade for Kenya as well, because truth be told, like, Kenya was wrong for this at the end of the day. Even though it was funny, she ain't shit for that. Okay, so next scene we're with Drew and Ralph, and it looks like Ralph is at a photo shoot for his upcoming book that he's about to write. They are really pushing his book on this show. We know more about the book than we know about She by Charade. It also looks like Drew is more involved with Ralph's book as well. Later on, we hear from Drew that it was Messy Charade's idea to hold a surprise birthday for Marlo and Kenya. So y'all gonna hold a birthday party for two people that hate each other. Yeah, that's Messy Charade. And her plans do not tell either one that the other is coming. That seems like a recipe for disaster, but we shall see. We then get a scene between Ralph and Drew's mom about why he decided to hold off on adopting her son Josiah. And it turned out that he met with the boy's father and he was uncomfortable with the idea. Now, why would the man that's hardly in the child's life have any kind of say on someone that's actually trying to step up to do his job? I wonder why he feels he gets any say when Drew is the sole legal guardian. Drew's mom ain't here for it, and I agree. The kid's biological father has never stepped up, yet you going to him for his approval? Yeah, fuck that. Toxic ass Ralph says, oh, if Josiah wants me to adopt him, then I'll adopt him. I'm sure the kid wants you to. But yeah, it's expected. Toxic ass Ralph trying to get the approval of another toxic ass man. Drew, there's a pattern here. We cut to Drew's confessional saying that she respects his decision and hope that he maybe changes his mind down the line. Girl, he ain't. Next scene we're with Marlo, and it looks like she has her nephews living with her again. I swear, every scene though, by herself, it just looks so staged. And when one of the nephews come in the scene, Marlo say, oh, I got some food for you. We just see some leftover pizza and chicken and waffles on an aluminum foil covered pan. I think normally those boys would be in their room, not doing shit. But then it's like, places, people, places. Have her assistant out tutoring them, have her nephews ready to talk to her about their day and how glad they are to be back home. They don't seem happy, but yeah. They still plotline kids to me. So next scene we're at Drew's house, and I'm guessing it's the day of the surprise party for Marlo and Kenya. Everything seems to be in place, but she's waiting on Charade, whose idea it was in the first place. Charade finally arrives at Drew's and says she was late planning her fashion show because everything is still going wrong with that. Now it looks like Drew did most of the planning while Charade didn't do anything. And since Drew did most of the planning, she said she has an invoice for Charade. And that is one of the words Charade does not like to hear, the word invoice. When Charade sees that the invoice is over $1,000, she says she ain't paying that. And then Messy Productions shows us what's on the invoice. Florals, $500, balloons, $700, chairs, table settings, catering, $400, decorations, $200, the service fee, $540. Charade's balance we see is $1,350. Why is she saying that's pricey when she got Louis on? Like, Charade is a scammer. Now, y'all know I don't like Drew, but I'm fully on her side with this. This was Charade's idea. And I'm not sure if Sheree is joking or not, but then she tells Drew she's only going to give her a fourth of the invoice. And Messy Production ain't finished yet. They put a little clip at the bottom of the screen of Drew's old assistant saying, oh yeah, no shade to Sheree, but we all know she don't pay. We cut to Sharee's confessional and she says she's not cheap whatsoever. It's just the fact that she's not paying for other people's bright ideas. Well, this was originally your bright idea, so you should have been more hands-on with planning it instead of leaving everything to Drew. So now you should pay your half. I hope Drew takes her to claims court. Charade will never learn, just so damn cheap, but yet she be wearing all this designer and everything. I'm sure her entire wardrobe is borrowed shit by stylists as well as returned clothing from Neiman's. So then later on, Charade gets a call from her business associate and she's outsourcing clothes in California, and she's getting the bad news that the shit ain't done and she has 9 days left till the fashion show. Oh, Charade. This is so embarrassing. Like, you will really go on national TV to embarrass yourself for a check. Girl. Sheree should be hands-on with everything, including paying people and providing a budget to put on a decent fashion show. She is solely relying on other people to execute her vision, and she don't want to pay people to do it either. So later on, Sunny is the first one to arrive. I'm wondering, if this was Sheree's idea, how come Sheree didn't have it at her house? Lord, now wait a minute. Sheree's talking about more shit that's going wrong with her fashion show. So she's outsourcing clothes and her samples are stuck in Alaska. And then we get a little graphic from production, messy ass production. We see a little cartoon visual that says Air Alaska, next stop, a fashion show with no fashions, Atlanta, Georgia. And we see a plane coming from Alaska going to Atlanta. They see Sheree as a joke. They paid her to be a joke on this show. I know everybody is side-eyeing Sheree when she said her fashions are lost in Alaska. Girl, this is what happens when scammers or stunt queens try to put on a show. So we see everybody arriving, some of Marlo's friends, her cousin, and it just so happened that Kenya and Marlo arrived at the exact same time. What are the odds? So they all surprise Kenya and Marlo as they both walk in. It seemed like they have a positive reception to this, that their birthdays are being celebrated together. Now, Kenya does say in her confessional that she wished it was celebrated just for her alone. I was curious because they both said they're Aquarius women. I was wondering if their birthdays were actually close. And it says Kenya Moore's birthday is January 24th and Marlo's birthday is February 7th. It's not very close, but it's a nice sentiment. So the ladies are all seated at the table for dinner. It seems like everyone's getting along right now. Marlo's cousin even gets up and asks Marlo to get along with Kenya. We know it's not going to happen. And it's so funny that a whole feud came out of this party after the show between Sheree and Drew. Like, they were going back and forth on Twitter. I'm like, the reunion already filmed, y'all, so this is just extra shit that y'all doing. Like, they really want to be back next season, both of them. Y'all know I want Drew to leave, but she was getting some digs in on Sheree. And speaking of that, in this scene, Sheree and Drew tells Kenya and Marlo that they don't want to see them fight anymore. And it's just funny, after this episode, you have Sheree and Drew who are now mortal enemies. We cut to Kenya's confessional, and she says that this surprise birthday party is now feeling like an intervention. And she's right, it really does, because they keep talking about how they want Marlo and Kenya to get along. Like, next topic, because it looks like they're going to get into it eventually. I'm not surprised where Kenya and Marlo's friendship is, because I feel like Kenya only befriended Marlo to spite Nene. And that's how they initially became cool. Yep, what did I say? They're going back and forth now about why they're not cool anymore. And Kenya's saying her position, and Marlo is like defending hers. Sheree, she knew this was going to happen. And now they're both having this debate with their friends and family present. So as the conversation's about to go even further left, the other ladies decide to just put a pin in the conversation, and Drew gets her mom to get everybody to pray over the food. How come we always go from fighting to prayer? I mean, we saw it last week on Married to Medicine, and now we've seen it on Atlanta. So Sheree and Drew decide to play this shady-ass game called Below the Belt. So they're giving the ladies different scenarios, and they have to respond what they would say to that scenario. And if it's below the belt, they have to take a shot. This is not going to go well. I know it's not. And Messy Drew couldn't help herself. So one of the scenarios is, what if you plan to host a party with another person and they don't want to pay half the bill? And everyone knows that they're talking about the two of them. And then Sheree says, well, I am paying for a fashion show right now. And Kenya says, as you're wearing a $7,000 sweater. Okay, that's why it's not adding up. Sheree is a scammer. So then, speaking of Sheree's fashion show, she gives all the ladies these little boxes of invites to her fashion show. So then Candy asks, well, how many pieces you have so far? Sheree says none. And I'm sure she has at least a week until the fashion show. Candy's like, okay, so in these little boxes she just gave out, there's little fashion clothing in each of them. Like, it looks like it goes on a Barbie doll or something. And she's saying, how do you get these clothes organized but not the clothes in your own line? They are roasting her in these confessionals. Candy's like, you might as well just start making fashions for Barbie. 2 points, Candy, 2 points. Lord have mercy, it's just getting worse. So then they ask Sheree how many people are attending her fashion show. She says, 100 people. And they're like, girl, you have 100 people coming and you still don't have no fashions yet? Kenya then stands up and says, a fashion show with no fashions, darling. They just immortalized Dwight with that phrase on this show. 100 people attending the show you're putting on in 7 days. You still don't have all the models as well as Nan clothing. They are all roasting her at the table. Marlo says, I think you just want to have a big party, not no fashion show. Sheree just staying up there looking stupid. She then asked Drew Mama, can she pray for her fashion show? And somebody at the table, I don't know who said it, but producers made sure to catch that caption. They said, prayers don't make clothes. As Sheree's trying to explain herself and failing at it, Kenya keeps going. She lets all the ladies know that she spent $1 million on this line. The ladies' reactions at the table are priceless. They're like, $1 million? Sheree is embarrassed now because she didn't think Kenya would bring that up. Of course she was lying. She didn't spend no $1 million on this shit. I don't even think she spent $100K on this. Sheree then has the audacity to say she didn't say that, and then production, you know they're gonna roll that footage. You know it. They even paused it in black and white to show that your ass is lying. Sheree just told a bold-faced lie, double downs on it. The ladies are just cracking jokes at her expense, saying that she don't pay, Drew working for free. Marla even tell Candy to set up a GoFundMe for Sheree. Kenya then in all seriousness tells Sheree that everybody at this table wants you to succeed, but if you ain't ready now, you are going to fail, and we don't want to see you fail twice. Child, I'm guessing they're saving the Apollo cameo for the very end. We have like 5 minutes left. So next scene, we have Sheree meeting up with Apollo. Production is so damn dramatic with this scene. They got Apollo pulling up into a rented Rolls Royce to meet up with Sheree. They're even using slow motion as he walks into the coffee shop. I mean, Apollo is aging well. He looks good. Not sure why they had a monologue playing as he was walking in. So she says she's known Apollo forever and they lost contact when he went to prison. And when he got out, they continued communication and she wanted to meet up with him in person for advice? On what? Stealing VIN numbers? So she's talking about her fashion show to Apollo, and he says that, you know, he's here if she needs anything, and that is all Sheree needed to hear. She asked him, can he be a model in her show? And I'm sure she's gonna want him to do it for free. Apollo doesn't give her a direct answer, but he says he's gonna think about it. We cut to Sheree's confessional, and she said that she knows that Apollo has some modeling experience. Girl, just because he's fine don't mean he got modeling experience. As someone on Twitter pointed out, his model experience is him in a photo with Phaedra for donkey booty workouts, and then the other photo of Phaedra shoving a pickle in his mouth. So then the next topic of conversation, we're just finding out what Apollo has been up to. And according to him, his ex left him for dead. He's saying Phaedra wasn't there for him at all during his stint in prison. Well, his second stint in prison. Oh, now wait a minute, Apollo gets a confessional? Really? I'm very shocked by this. They actually gave him his own confessional just to badmouth Phaedra. So now Sheree is telling Apollo about Tyrone, and he says that he actually met Tyrone. I'm not sure in prison or whatever, but they be talking, and he knew that Tyrone was dating Sheree. Now, editors, I'm not sure if y'all paying attention, but in this scene, I can see that Apollo just ordered his coffee because the whipped cream is on top. And then before that, we see that it's not. I'm guessing because I edit every damn day, shit like that just stands out to me. As Sheree is telling Apollo how Tyrone humiliated her, he's letting her know that, you know, prisoners like Tyrone, they run game like that all the time. Like, they'll talk to a woman outside of prison, and they could definitely be talking to other women as well. And then when they finally got out of jail, it's a different story. I mean, this is common knowledge. Sheree shouldn't allow herself to be played like that. But again, the fetish for embarrassment. We found out from Charade that Tyrone has been texting and calling her nonstop and she doesn't know whether to reply or not. And then Apollo gives her advice to just stay focused on what she's doing, and that is where the episode ends. This episode was a hoot, and it was at the expense of Sheree. Sheree's embarrassment. Sheree was embarrassed all throughout this episode. I actually feel kind of sorry for her, but she's getting the check for this, and it's also hard to feel sorry for a scammer. I definitely think this was one of the better episodes. Please let me know what y'all think in the comments. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all for my Married to Medicine review. Bye.